Rain poured down that night, each drop heavy with betrayal. I stood at my apartment window, staring at a figure slumped under the streetlight's dim glow. 3 weeks ago, I tossed his stuff onto the wet pavement like trash. There he was, Adrian White, the man who'd ripped my heart out with cold precision. His fancy jacket, my birthday gift to him, was soaked. His perfect hair clung to his head. He looked broken, desperate, everything he'd once called me. But this wasn't my story's end. It was the peak of a revenge I'd been crafting since I overheard his cruel laugh in that restaurant 3 weeks back. The moment I realized his love was just a scam, I just cashed in my final move. Before we go on, drop a comment with your country. We love seeing where you're tuning in from. If you're new here, hit subscribe. Your support fuels more epic revenge stories like mine. Keep listening. I'm Cindy Hollins, and 3 weeks ago I thought I was in a fairy tale. Kind with a charming prince and a happy ending. I should have known better. I'm an accountant, numbers don't lie, but people do. It was a chilly October Thursday. Crisp air made me crave a cozy night with someone special, a glass of wine, and no worries. I planned our dinner for weeks. Chateau Marmont, where Adrian first said he loved me 8 months ago. I stood in front of my mirror, smoothing the black dress he'd picked out for me. "You look amazing in black," he'd said, hands on my waist. "It shows the fire in your eyes." Those eyes now sparkled with excitement. I had big news for Adrian. My promotion to senior partner at Nelson & Associates came with a fat raise. We could move in together, maybe even talk marriage. Our future looked bright. My phone buzzed on the dresser. Adrian's name flashed, with a beach photo I'd snapped of him. His warm smile, golden skin, eyes full of light. "Hey, beautiful," his voice purred through the speaker. "Hey, handsome. I'm almost ready. Meet you at the restaurant?" "Actually, babe, I'm calling to cancel." My red lipstick slipped, clattering to the floor. "Cancel?" "Adrian, we've had these reservations forever." "I know, Mel, I'm sorry. My parents need me tonight. It's urgent." My heart sank as I picked up the lipstick. "Can I come? I love your parents." "No," he snapped, then softened. "It's family stuff, private. You get it, right?" I stared at my reflection, my excitement fading. "Sure, family first." "You're the best, Mel. I love you for this. I'll make it up to you this weekend, somewhere special, just us." After we hung up, I sat on my bed, the black dress feeling too tight, too hopeful. A small voice whispered doubts, Adrian's distance, his rehearsed kisses, his focus on my money. I pushed it aside. Love meant trust, giving him the benefit of the doubt. But love, I'd soon learn, could also mean being played. I should have stayed home, ordered takeout, and watched rom-coms to soothe my disappointment. Instead, 40 minutes later, I was on 5th Street, still in that dress, hood up, baseball cap hiding my face. I told myself it was just a walk to clear my mind. Heading toward Chateau Marmont was pure chance. The restaurant glowed warmly against the cold night. Through its windows, I saw couples sharing candlelit moments, the life I thought I had. I nearly turned away when I spotted them. Adrian sat at a corner table, his back to me, but those broad shoulders were unmistakable. The way he fidgeted with his hair when nervous. Across from him was a woman with auburn hair, her laugh lighting up the room. My blood froze. Next to them, like a nightmare come to life, were Margie and Colton White, Adrian's parents. They'd welcomed me like family, invited me to dinners, treated me like their own. Now they beamed at this woman like she was their world. I couldn't stop myself. I moved closer, drawn by a sick need to know. I slid into a table behind them, hidden by a pillar, hood low, pretending to read the menu as my world fell apart. "Bessie, darling," Margie's voice dripped with warmth. "You're glowing, isn't she, Colton?" "Stunning as always," Colton agreed. "So glad you two figured things out." Bessie. The name hit like a punch. I knew it. Adrian had mentioned her early on. His college girlfriend who broke his heart by moving to California. The one who got away. I never should have left, Bessie said, her voice soft, melodic, everything I wasn't. These last 2 years without Adrian were awful. When I got a job offer in New York, I knew it was fate. Through the corner of my eye, I saw Adrian take her hand, his fingers, the ones that had touched me days ago, now locked with hers. I never stopped loving you, he said, voice heavy with feeling. Not one day. His words stabbed my heart. Not one day? What about the 8 months with me? What about the I love you, he whispered to me? Our plans? Our future? What about Tanya? Margie asked. My heart stopped. Tanya? My name's Cindy. Unless. Adrian's laugh was cold, cruel, unfamiliar. That pathetic girl? She's just my walking ATM. The menu slipped from my hands. I was drowning, the restaurant's air thick, pulling me under with every word. I've been using her to get you back, he said casually, like it was nothing. She pays for my car, clothes, phone bill. Probably even this dinner, since I used her emergency credit card. The black Amex I gave him last month when his card was frozen. My card. When will you end it with her? Bessie asked, a hint of unease in her voice. At least someone felt guilty. Next week, Adrian said without pause. Once you move in, she'll cover the deposit for our new place. Our new place. The apartment I'd been hunting for, thinking it was for us. Smart move, son, Colton said, proud. Why work when a desperate girl pays for it all? You've always been clever. Their laughter shattered around me like glass. 3 people I trusted, loved, let into my life, mocking my love, my kindness, my foolishness. I stayed for 10 more minutes, hearing them plan their future, my money funding their apartment, their spring wedding, their future kids. Adrian never faltered, no guilt, no thought of me waiting for his call. When I stood, my legs trembled. My reflection in the window showed a stranger, hollow, broken, everything he'd called me. But as I left the restaurant, leaving behind their lies and laughter, something hardened in me. Pain was raw, but beneath it was something colder, revenge. I don't recall walking home. One moment, I was outside Chateau Marmont, watching my life collapse. The next, I was at my apartment, hands shaking, struggling with the key. Inside, everything felt wrong. The same furniture, photos of Adrian and me everywhere, the throw blanket he gave me for our 3-month anniversary. My apartment felt tainted, poisoned by the truth I'd just seen. I wandered through it like a ghost, seeing everything differently. The pricey watch on my nightstand. Adrian swore it was his grandmother's, but I'd found the receipt in my purse. Designer clothes I'd bought him hung in my closet, purchases I'd justified as love. His laptop sat on my kitchen counter, supposedly for his freelance graphic design work. Work that never brought in a dime, just excuses for why he needed more of my money for his future. Our future, he'd called it. But there was no us for Adrian White, just his needs and my wallet. His stuff was everywhere, like a virus spreading through my life. His toiletries in my bathroom, shoes by my door, coffee cups in my sink, proof of 8 months of lies masked as love. Anger hit me in waves. First, a fiery rage that made me want to scream, smash things, call him and curse him out. Then came a colder, sharper fury, whispering of justice, consequences, and making him pay for every lie and stolen dollar. But beneath it all was worse, shame. A heavy, choking shame for being so completely fooled. I'd been so desperate for love that I ignored every warning sign, excused every oddity, overlooked every cruel word or dismissive gesture. I'm a successful, smart woman with a master's in accounting and a partnership at a top firm. But with Adrian, I was just a walking ATM with feelings, a resource to exploit, a fool to manipulate. That's when my plan took shape. I started with his things, every shirt I'd bought, every pair of shoes, every gadget tied to my credit card. I gathered them coldly, like I would a complex audit at work. No tears, no hesitation, just precision. Rain fell again as I reached my building's entrance. Perfect. I opened the door and tossed Adrian's life onto the wet sidewalk. The designer jacket I got him for his birthday soaked instantly. Leather shoes, worth half my monthly pay, puddled with water. Cologne, silk ties, cashmere sweaters, everything that made him feel above his own worth. Mrs. Rodriguez from 4B walked her dog as I dumped the last load. She stopped, eyeing the pile. "Spring cleaning?" she asked with a sly smile. "Something like that," I answered, my voice steady despite everything. "Good for you, Mija," she said, her eyes wise. "Sometimes you've got to toss the trash to see how clean your home can be." After she left, I stared at the soggy mess of my mistakes. 8 months of Adrian, now just wet clothes and broken promises on a New York sidewalk. But it wasn't enough. Not even close. Back upstairs, I opened my laptop. Adrian thought I was a pathetic ATM. It was time to show him how smart this ATM could be. Revenge, they say, is best served cold. But that night, surrounded by bank statements and credit card records, I learned it's best served with precision and a knack for financial law. Being an accountant gave me an edge. I started with the credit cards. The black Amex I'd given him for emergencies revealed a shocking pattern over 3 months. Dinners at fancy restaurants I'd never visited with Bessie I now knew. Hotel charges when he claimed to be with his sick uncle in Jersey. Shopping sprees for gifts that weren't for me. Total stunned me. $15,000 in hidden charges, masked by clever timing and forged signatures on statements sent to my address. Then there were cash advances, small, sneaky amounts that avoided fraud alerts but added up to thousands. Money that fueled his double life, his real romance, his true priorities. My fingers raced across the keyboard, logging every detail, screenshots, printouts, spreadsheets breaking down each shady transaction. I'd handled corporate fraud with less evidence than Adrian had left me. But the money was just the start. I dove into his digital trail. His laptop, left on my counter, was a gold mine. Emails, social media, texts, all synced, all exposing the depth of his lies. Emails with Bessie went back 6 months. 6 months of plotting their reunion, scheming against me, mocking the stupid rich girl funding their love. They discussed which of my things they'd keep when he moved in with her, laughed at my looks and personality, planned how to squeeze every cent from me before dumping me. The worst was his texts with Jake Damian, a sleazy friend who coached Adrian in financial seduction. "Jake, how's the money train?" Adrian, chugging along. Got her to pay my car insurance for a year. Said it was a step toward marriage. Jake, nice. How much is she worth? Adrian, her apartment's probably $800K plus her new partner gig. Big money, Jake. She's clueless. Adrian, none. Thinks I'm her soulmate. Almost sad how desperate she is. Almost sad. My 8 months of love and trust were a joke to him. Kept reading, fury growing with each message. Adrian, Bessie's back next month. Time to ditch her. Jake gonna break it gently? Adrian, why bother? I'll ghost her after she pays for the new place's deposit. She'll figure it out. Jake, ruthless. I like it. Adrian, she'll cry for a week, then find another sucker to pay her bills. Girls like her always do. Girls like me. Desperate, pathetic, only good for our bank accounts. I stared at the screen, grief and shame burning inside me, but something stronger took over, something sharp and unstoppable. Adrian had miscalculated. He thought his ATM was a weak, weepy victim. He didn't know I was smarter, better connected, and far more dangerous than he'd ever be. It was time to show him. Thursday morning brought clear autumn light and a fierce sense of purpose. I wore my sharpest black suit, the one that screamed I could ruin lives with a few calls. I headed to Nelson and Associates. My partner, Elizabeth Hall, looked up, her keen eyes catching my mood. "You look ready to wreck someone," she said, smirking. "Tell me it's that pretty boy you've been bankrolling." "It's more than his week I'm ruining," I said, sitting across from her. "Liz, I need your help, and it's gonna take your special skills." Elizabeth wasn't just my partner. Before our firm, she'd spent 10 years as an FBI forensic accountant, cracking financial crimes and tracking assets. Elizabeth had deep ties in law enforcement, banking, and private investigation. Even better, she had zero patience for men who targeted successful women like me. Spill it all, she said, leaning back with a predatory grin like a hunter spotting easy prey. I laid out the whole mess: Adrian's credit card fraud, his emotional games, his theft disguised as love. I showed her the emails, texts, and financial records proving his crimes. When I finished, Elizabeth's face was pure professional outrage. "This guy's running a classic con," she said, scrolling through my laptop's evidence. "And he's dumb enough to leave a trail any rookie lawyer could follow." "What's the plan, Mel?" "Everything legal," I said. "Maybe a few things that skirt the edge of morality." "My kind of revenge," Elizabeth smirked. "Let me make some calls." While she worked, I made my own moves. I called the credit card companies to report unauthorized charges, flagged suspicious bank transactions, and warned the apartment complex about Adrian's fraudulent deposit plans. Those were just the first steps. Next, I dialed Miranda Walsh, my old college roommate, now a senior producer at Channel 7 News. Miranda loved consumer protection stories, the kind that ruined reputations for years. "Mel," her voice burst with warmth. "It's been ages. Got a story? I need something juicy." "I've got one," I said. "Want to expose a serial romance scammer targeting successful women?" The silence was electric. "Tell me more," she urged. I gave her the short version, focusing on Adrian's pattern, not my broken heart. Her journalist instincts were already buzzing. "This is gold," she said. "Scamming professional women? Our viewers will eat it up. If he did this to you, there's others." "That's what I need you to uncover," I said. "Done. My team's on it. We'll dig up every victim, every lie, every stolen dollar, and splash his face on the evening news in HD. Hanging up with Miranda, I felt like myself again. Research, strategy, problem solving, this was my strength. Adrian saw my kindness as weakness, my love as stupidity. He was about to meet a very angry accountant. Elizabeth popped into my doorway as I jotted down notes. "Your boyfriend's done for," she said, grinning. "Just spoke with Detective Ray Santos from Financial Crimes. Adrian's been on their radar for months." My heart jumped. "What?" "3 women filed complaints against him in 2 years. Same deal. Long relationships with professionals, financial abuse, then he vanishes when they get suspicious. They never press charges because they were too ashamed." "I'm not ashamed," I said. No, Elizabeth's smile was fierce. "You're furious. Santos wants to meet this afternoon. With your evidence and their files, they'll hit him with fraud, identity theft, and grand larceny." Vindication surged through me, almost dizzying. Adrian thought he was untouchable. He didn't know his world was about to collapse. But charges weren't enough. He'd stolen 8 months of my life, my trust and love, my confidence in myself. The law would punish him, but it wouldn't heal my soul. For that, I needed something personal. Friday evening, I stood before my mirror, back in a black dress, preparing for dinner. But this time, I was different. I knew who Adrian was, and I had a plan. He'd been blowing up my phone all day, likely after finding his stuff strewn across 5th Street, ruined by rain. His texts went from confused to worried to panicked to angry. "Babe, someone trashed my stuff outside your building. You okay?" "Mel, call me back. I'm worried." "Why aren't you answering?" "Something wrong. This isn't funny. Call me." "I'm coming over." But he didn't show. Adrian was a coward, bold only when he held the upper hand. When control slipped, he hid. I was about to pull him into the light. I called him, and he picked up instantly. "Mel." "God, where have you been?" "I've been trying you all day." "Sorry," I said, keeping my tone even. "Work crisis at the firm." Work crisis. Relief flooded his voice. His ATM was back, making money for him. What happened? Lots of lawyers, unhappy clients, I said, faking exhaustion. Can we meet for dinner tonight? I need to talk. Of course, babe. Where? Chateau Marmont, I said, relishing his slight gasp. Got a table for 8 o'clock last minute. A long pause. I could hear him scrambling, knowing he was supposed to meet Bessie tonight. I'd seen their emails, but he couldn't risk losing his cash cow. 8 o'clock works, he said. Missed you, Mel. Missed you too, I lied. Wear that blue shirt I got you. It matches your eyes. The one from the street pile? His voice tightened. What pile? I asked, all innocence. Forget it, he mumbled. I'll find something. See you at 8, I said, hanging up fast. Next, I called Miranda. It's set for tonight, Chateau Marmont, 8 o'clock. Your team ready. All set, she said. Cameras across the street, wireless mic on you. Get him to admit the scam on tape and we've got the story. And Detective Santos? He's there, off camera, ready to arrest when you signal. This'll be sweet, Mel, justice with a side of humiliation. My last call was to Elizabeth. Phase 1's rolling, I said. You set for Phase 2? Ready since yesterday, she said, voice sharp. Once he's arrested, I'll send our findings to every bank in the city. His credits toast, accounts frozen, scam days over. And Phase 3. Bessie Caden, back from California, works at Emiliano and Associates, Elizabeth read from her notes. I've got her email, address, and records of every gift Adrian bought her with your money. She's getting a surprise package Monday. Cold smile crept across my face. Bessie wasn't blameless. She knew about me, helped plan my exploitation. But she was also Adrian's victim, unaware her fairy tale reunion was funded by fraud. When she learned her prince was a crook, her dream would shatter. That was its own justice. Perfect, I said. Let's take him down. Chateau Marmont hadn't changed since 3 nights ago when my world crumbled. Same warm lights, cozy vibe, couples whispering sweet promises. But I was a new woman walking in. Adrian sat at a corner table, not the one from his betrayal, but close enough to sting. He fidgeted with his glass, checking his phone, hair perfect despite his wardrobe rotting in a dumpster. He stood as I approached, flashing that charming smile that once melted me. Now I saw the predator behind it. Mel, he said, kissing my cheek. You look amazing. Thanks, I said, sitting, feeling the tiny mic hidden under my bracelet. Miranda's team was listening. You're not bad yourself, considering your clothes mysteriously vanished. His smile wavered. Yeah, about that. Maybe someone targeted your building. We should look into better security. Maybe, I said, flipping open my menu. Or maybe someone was sending a message. The waiter arrived before Adrian could reply, and we ordered wine for him, water for me. I needed a clear head for what was coming. So, this work crisis, Adrian said when we were alone. You sounded stressed on the phone. It's messy, I said, watching his face. Even now, knowing his lies, a part of me hoped for a trace of real care, some sign our 8 months meant anything. But his eyes showed only calculation, already scheming how to turn my crisis into his gain. You can tell me anything, he said, grabbing my hand across the table, the same hand that held Bessie's 3 nights ago. We're a team, right? Are we? I asked quietly. Of course, Mel. I love you. Whatever's going on, we'll handle it together. The wine came, and he gulped half his glass. His nerves were obvious now, glancing at the door, voice trembling, sweat beating despite the cool room. Actually, I said, leaning back, I've been thinking about us, our relationship, our future. Yeah. His eyes gleamed with greed, not love. What about? We've been together 8 months. Talked about moving in, merging finances, maybe marriage. Absolutely, he said eagerly. I want all that with you, Mel. But I'm wondering, I said, my voice steady despite the fury in my chest, what you bring to this. What do you contribute? Question through him. He expected me to offer more money, more of myself, not to question his worth. What do you mean? He stammered. I pay for everything, your clothes, food, entertainment, car insurance, phone bill. I was even ready to cover our apartment deposit. So, what do you bring to this partnership? His face reddened. Mel, I can't believe you're keeping score. Love isn't about money. No, I agreed. So, you won't mind if I cancel your credit cards? Top covering your expenses? Split things 50-50? Silence stretched like a canyon. Panic crept into his eyes, his charming facade cracking. You're being ridiculous, he said. I'm between jobs. You know that. Once my graphic design business kicks off. What business? I cut in. I've never seen your work, your clients, or you even designing anything. It's complicated. Building a client base takes time. 2 years? I asked. Your friend Jake Damien says you've been jobless that long. That's a lot of time. His face paled. How do you know Jake? Same way I know about Bessie Caden, I said, watching him crumble. Same way I know about the other women you've scammed. Same way I know you've used me as your ATM while planning your life with someone else. Adrian's mouth opened, closed, opened again. For once, he was speechless. Did you think I was that clueless? I pressed, my voice icing over. Did you really believe you could sit here 3 nights ago, hold another woman's hand, call me a pathetic ATM, and face no consequences? His face went ghost white. You were here? You heard. Every word, I said. Every laugh, every cruel joke, every plan you made with my money. I heard you tell your parents Bessie was your true love while I waited for your call to reschedule our date. His hand shook. He scanned the restaurant, desperate, like he could escape this nightmare. Mel, let me explain. Explain what? 6 months of credit card fraud? Stealing from my account for your other girlfriend? Planning to ditch me once you got every last dollar? It's not like that, he mumbled. Then what's it like, Adrian? Tell me your side. He stared, and I saw the moment he knew his game was done. No more charm, no more lies would save him. His ATM had turned dangerous, an informed victim with power. You don't get it, he whispered. Bessie and I have history. Real history. What we have is funded by my money, I snapped. Every dinner with her, every gift, every hotel room, paid with my credit cards. I was going to pay you back. With what, Adrian? You have no job, no income, just what you steal from women who love you. The word love hung heavy, a reminder of 8 months of my heart wasted on a fraud. How many others? I asked softly. What? How many women have you conned? How many pathetic girls have bankrolled your life while you laughed? His silence answered. I pulled a manila folder from my purse and set it on the table. Detective Santos from Financial Crimes is eager to meet you. You've been busy, haven't you? His eyes locked on the folder like it held his doom, which it did. Charges include identity theft, credit card fraud, grand larceny, conspiracy, I said casually. With your digital trail and past victims' testimony, the prosecutor's ready to convict. Past victims? He echoed, voice faint. Oh, yes. Sarah Mitchell, 2023. Jessica Williams, early 2024. Rebecca Rivera last year. All successful women, all scammed by the same charming guy with the same sob story. I opened the folder, spreading out bank statements, emails, photos, police reports, Adrian's criminal history laid bare. Sarah, a doctor, thought she was funding your medical equipment business, $40,000 gone. Jessica, a lawyer, believed she was paying your law school tuition, $60,000 vanished. Rebecca, an engineer, funded your fake startup for $35,000. Adrian stared, a man watching his own end. And then me, I said. The biggest fool, the ATM so desperate for love I ignored every warning, excused every lie, and handed you my financial security. Mel, please. But you misjudged me, Adrian. I'm not just an accountant. I'm a forensic accountant with connections in law enforcement, media, and finance. And unlike your other victims, I'm not too ashamed to ruin you. I glanced at the entrance, where Detective Santos waited by the hostess station. Miranda's crew was outside, ready to film Adrian's fall. You've got two choices, I said, closing the folder. Come quietly with me to Santos, confess, maybe get a plea deal to be out before you're 60. Or run, make it worse, and spend years dodging every cop in the state. His breathing was ragged, panicked. You can't do this. I'm not doing anything, I said calmly. You chose to steal, lie, treat me like trash while I loved you. This is just your bill coming due. He scanned the restaurant, eyes wild, searching for a way out, a charm to wield, a lie to spin. Nothing was left. No masks, no tricks, no victims to scam. By the way, I added, Channel 7's filming. They're doing a story on romance scammers targeting women like me. You'll be famous, Adrian, just not how you dreamed. That broke him. He slumped, a puppet with cut strings. Why? He whispered. Why do this to me? I studied him, this man who'd stolen 8 months of my life and made me doubt my worth. Even now, facing ruin, he saw himself as the victim, punished for being too charming, too clever. Because you made me feel pathetic, I said. You made me question my worth, my judgment, my ability to love. You took my kindness and twisted it into a weakness. I stood, smoothing my black dress, the one I wore on our first date when I believed in fairy tales. And because, I added, someone has to stop you from doing this again. I walked toward the entrance, leaving Adrian with his crimes spread out like a map of his future. His voice cracked, calling my name in panic, but I didn't look back. Detective Santos stepped forward as I neared, badge in view. Miss Hollins, he said quietly. He's yours, detective, I replied. The arrest was quick, clean. Santos approached as Adrian stared at the folder, face frozen in shock and fear. The handcuffs snapped on, a sound that echoed in my bones. Justice, balance, 8 months of lies ending. Diners watched, whispers spreading as Adrian, once the room's charmer, was led out in cuffs, head bowed in shame. I followed at a distance, seeing Miranda's crew through the windows, cameras rolling, lights catching Adrian's face as Santos read his rights. I saw the moment he realized his arrest was being broadcast citywide. Ma'am, Detective Santos said, stepping back into the restaurant after securing Adrian in the patrol car. Can you come to the station tonight for a formal statement? Absolutely, I replied, my voice surprisingly steady. Whatever you need. You did great work, he said, his weathered face breaking into a nod of approval. Most romance scam victims stay silent, too ashamed. You've helped us close cases that have been open for years. Most victims. The words lingered as I stepped into the chilly October night. I wasn't most victims. I was Cindy Hollins, and I'd just brought down the man who tried to ruin me. But watching the patrol car vanish into city traffic, I realized Adrian's arrest was only the start. His punishment would be years behind bars, but undoing his damage to my life would take longer. I dialed Elizabeth on my phone. Tell me you got it all recorded, she said, skipping pleasantries. Every word, I confirmed. He's headed to central booking now. Perfect. In 30 minutes, I'm sending our financial report to the media. By morning, every bank and credit union in the tri-state area will know his face and his tricks. And Bessie, here's where it gets juicy, Elizabeth said, her voice dripping with satisfaction. Bessie Caden's no innocent. She's been running a similar scam on the West Coast for 2 years. My stomach dropped. What? She plays a struggling artist needing funds for her dreams. Same con, different angle. She's fleeced at least 6 men out of their savings in California. It hit me like a punch. Adrian and Bessie weren't just lovers, they were partners in crime, merging their scams for bigger targets. So, her move back to New York? I asked. Was to team up with Adrian, Elizabeth said. They plan to hit married couples, retirees, maybe small businesses. The thought made me sick. If I hadn't followed Adrian to that restaurant, how many more lives would they have wrecked? How many would I have unknowingly funded? We need to stop her, I said. Already on it, Elizabeth replied. I've been talking to the LAPD all day. They've been after her for fraud cases. She's getting a surprise visit tomorrow, plus your evidence package is en route to her boss, landlord, and family in Ohio. By Monday, Bessie Caden's shiny new life will crash just like Adrian's did tonight. A wave of vindication surged through me, almost dizzying. This wasn't just about nailing Adrian, it was about dismantling their whole scheme, protecting others from their lies. But beneath the triumph, I felt a pang of grief for the woman I was a week ago. Trusting, generous, believing in love despite all the signs pointing to betrayal. Mal, Elizabeth's voice softened. You did the right thing. You know that? I know, I said, though it felt empty. But I keep replaying every clue I ignored, every excuse I made, every dollar I poured into a fake relationship. That's not on you, she said. These people are pros at twisting emotions and exploiting trust. Your kindness, your willingness to love, that doesn't make you foolish. It makes you human. A human who lost $50,000 to a con man, I said, bitterness creeping in. A human who lost $50,000 but gained something bigger, Elizabeth countered. You learned you're tough enough to fight back, sharp enough to gather evidence, and brave enough to demand justice. Adrian picked the wrong target, Mel. He'll be thinking about that in a cell for years. After hanging up, I wandered the city streets, my mind racing with the whirlwind of events. The arrest, the evidence, Bessie's double life, it was all so much. My phone buzzed with a text from Miranda. Story airs tomorrow, 6 p.m. You're helping so many, Mel. Thanks for being brave. Another from Santos. Formal charges tomorrow. With your evidence, we're looking at 5 to 7 years minimum. Justice done. 5 to 7 years. Too much and not enough for what Adrian stole. No sentence could return the 8 months I spent loving a man who saw me as a cash machine. No jail time could restore my faith in love or my trust in myself. But it was a start. The next evening, Channel 7's story hit hard. Romance scammer targets professional women, led with Adrian's arrest footage, victim interviews, and a breakdown of his tactics. I watched from my couch, wine in hand, marveling at the power of good journalism. Miranda nailed it, exposing Adrian's crimes without exploiting victims' pain, teaching viewers to spot scam red flags without shaming anyone. My phone rang nonstop, reporters wanting interviews, friends checking in, colleagues offering support. Even Mom called from Florida, her voice thick with worry and fury at the man who hurt me. But the call that hit deepest came near midnight. Is this Cindy Hollins? A hesitant voice asked. Yes, this is Cindy. I'm Sarah Mitchell from the news story, one of Adrian's earlier victims. The doctor who lost $40,000 to his fake medical equipment scheme. Sarah, I said, sitting up. I'm so glad you reached out. I had to thank you, she said, voice heavy with emotion. For 3 years, I've carried this shame, thinking I was just a dumb woman fooled by a charming face. Seeing your story, how calculated he was, made me realize it wasn't my fault. It wasn't, I said firmly. None of it. Adrian's a pro who preys on good people. That's his crime, not ours. Detective Santos called today, Sarah said. With your evidence, they can prosecute him for everything, including what he did to me. I never thought I'd get justice. We talked for an hour, sharing our stories, comparing Adrian's lies, stunned by how consistent his manipulation was. Hanging up, I felt lighter. The shame of being uniquely foolish started to fade. I wasn't alone. Other smart, successful women had fallen for Adrian's charm. I was part of a group of survivors finally getting justice. More women came forward in the days that followed. Jessica the lawyer, Rebecca the engineer, 3 others who recognized Adrian from the news but hadn't reported him. Each story, each shared moment of support mended something he'd broken in me. The legal process moved fast. Adrian's lawyer pushed for a plea deal, but the prosecutor wasn't budging. With 6 victims, $200,000 in fraud, and evidence of an organized crime ring, the state wanted maximum penalties. Bessie's arrest in Los Angeles hit national news when her and Adrian's cross-state scam came to light. The FBI jumped in, hunting for more victims and accomplices. Elizabeth updated me on the financial recovery. Adrian's accounts were frozen, and liens were placed on anything bought with stolen funds. It'd take months, but we might recover some losses. The biggest surprise came one Thursday evening at the office. My assistant knocked, her voice neutral. "Someone's here to see you." Says her name's Bessie Caden. My blood froze. Bessie was supposed to be in custody in LA. Why was she in New York? Why was she at my office? "Call security?" my assistant asked, seeing my face. "No," I said after a pause. "Let her in. Stay nearby." Bessie Caden didn't look like the glowing woman from the restaurant. Her auburn hair was messy, her clothes rumpled, her face worn from sleepless nights. She stood in my office, holding herself together with raw determination. "Miss Hollins," she said, voice steady but strained. "Miss Caden," I replied coldly, staying seated, not offering a chair. "I thought you were in custody." "I made bail yesterday," she said, sitting across from me uninvited. "My lawyer told me not to come, but I owe you an explanation." "You owe me nothing," I said. "You and Adrian made your opinion of me clear." Bessie flinched at his name. That night at the restaurant, it wasn't the full truth. I leaned back, eyeing her. Even now, after everything, was she trying to con me with a new story? "Really?" I said. "Which part of pathetic walking ATM did I get wrong?" "I never said that," she said softly. "That was all Adrian." When he said it, when his parents laughed, I felt sick. But I was stuck. Stuck, I scoffed. Stuck planning a life with my stolen money? "You don't get it," she said, her calm cracking. "Adrian told me you knew about us. He said you were fine with it, helping him because you wanted him happy, even if it wasn't with you." The lie was so bold it left me speechless for a moment. "He said you were a friend," Bessie went on, "helping him recover from a bad breakup. Like a sister who understood we were meant to be but still supported him." "And you bought that?" I asked. "I wanted to," she admitted. The alternative was admitting the man I loved was a criminal ruining lives to fund our relationship. I stared, weighing if this was another scam or if there was truth in her words. "That night you overheard," she said, voice barely audible, "was when I first heard how he really saw you. And I realized if he could be that cruel to someone so kind, everything he told me about us was probably a lie too." "What happened after I left?" I asked. "I called him out," she said, hands fidgeting. "Right there, in front of his parents. I asked if he'd lied about you, about our deal. He tried to charm his way out, but I saw the truth in his eyes." She paused. "I left him at the restaurant, told him I was done. Then I learned about the California warrant. Adrian used my identity for credit cards, loans, running his East Coast scam with my credit while I was conning people in LA. The truth clicked into place, darker than I'd imagined. Adrian wasn't just running 2 cons. He was exploiting Bessie, using her identity to grow his crimes while keeping her clueless. "I know you don't trust me," Bessie said. "And I know what I did in California was wrong, no matter what Adrian did here. But I needed you to know not everything that night was true. Adrian lied to us both, used us both." I searched her face for lies, for Adrian's polished charm. All I saw was exhaustion, regret, maybe real remorse. "What do you want from me?" I asked. "Nothing," she said, standing. I just wanted you to know I thought I was reuniting with my love, not hurting you. I'm sorry for my part in your pain, even if I didn't know the full story. To the door, she turned. Adrian's a monster. He's so good he makes you feel like the villain in your own life. I'm glad you fought back. I wish I had. After she left, I sat, staring at the city lights, processing her words. Was Bessie a victim of Adrian's lies or playing me to dodge her own guilt? It didn't matter. Whether she was genuine or acting, Adrian was going to prison, his scams were over, and I was moving forward on my terms. 6 months later, I stood in my new apartment's bathroom, applying the same red lipstick from the night my world fell apart. Everything else had changed. My new place was smaller, all mine, no traces of anyone else's things, no echoes of false promises. The woman in the mirror was older, wiser, stronger than the one who believed in fairy tales. Adrian's trial ended 3 weeks ago, convicted on all counts. 7 years in federal prison plus 5 years probation. The judge was brutal, calling out the deep emotional harm of romance scams and Adrian's total lack of remorse. I sat in the courtroom's front row with Sarah, Jessica, Rebecca, and other women Adrian had hurt. When the verdict came and they led him away in cuffs, I didn't feel triumph or vengeance, just closure. The man who made me doubt my worth, my judgment, my heart was no longer a threat. Bessie pleaded guilty to fraud in California, getting 3 years. Her testimony helped uncover more victims and recover assets. Was her cooperation remorse or a bid for leniency? Either way, it brought justice. Financially, things looked up. Asset forfeiture, insurance, and restitution got me back 60% of what Adrian stole. Better yet, law firms reached out about consulting on fraud cases. I was eyeing a full-time shift to forensic accounting. But the real change was inside me. I trusted myself again, not the naive trust that let Adrian in, but a grounded belief in my worth and boundaries. I learned kindness is still good, but it needs wisdom. Love is worth chasing, but it demands honesty and mutual respect. My phone buzzed with a text from Miranda. Ready for tonight's interview? Documentary team's pumped to meet you. Tonight was my interview for Stolen Hearts, a Netflix documentary on romance scams airing next month. Producers saw Miranda's news story and wanted to dive into the psychology of scammers and victims. First, I balked. Sharing my mistakes and pain nationally felt daunting. But then I thought of women in restaurants right now, falling for charming lies, giving their hearts and money to predators. If my story could save one person, give one victim courage, it was worth it. Ready as I'll ever be, I texted back. The interview was at 7 o'clock downtown. With an hour to spare, I walked through Central Park to clear my mind for the tough talk ahead. Park glowed in the late afternoon, alive with joggers, dog walkers, and couples sharing sweet moments. 6 months ago, those couples would have sparked bitterness. Now I hope their love was true, their trust deserved, their stories happier than mine. I was watching a couple feed ducks by the pond when someone coughed behind me. Excuse me, are you Cindy Hollins? I turned to see a man in his mid-30s, tall, lean, with kind eyes and a shy smile, holding a Wall Street Journal with my name on the business section's front page, an article about my new consulting firm published that morning. Yes, I said warily, cautious after months of media attention. Sorry to bother you, he said quickly. I'm Michael Edwards, a financial crimes prosecutor with the Manhattan DA. I wanted to thank you for your work. Thank me. Your testimony in the White case, your financial breakdown, the way you've spoken out on romance scams, it's changed how we handle these prosecutions, Michael said. We've had a 30% jump in victims reporting since your story broke. That's amazing to hear, I said, touched by how much his words affected me. I was hoping to ask about consulting on a case, he went on. It's like yours, a serial scammer hitting professional women in the tri-state area. We need your expertise. I watched his face, catching the real fire in his voice about justice for victims. His eyes sparkled, describing my impact. His straightforwardness, focus, and respect for my ordeal felt fresh. I'd like to hear details, I said. Got a card? He passed me one, our fingers touching lightly. Briefing next Thursday, 2 o'clock. Free. I'll check, I said, tucking it in my purse. Great, Michael said, smiling wider. Miss Hollins, fighting back like you did, not staying silent or ashamed, that took real guts. You've helped so many. 3 left, I lingered by the pond, watching ducks skim the water, pondering chance meetings and fresh starts. Michael seemed solid, sharing my drive for justice and protecting the vulnerable. More than that, he valued my strength, not feared it. He saw my smarts as an asset, not something to use, knowing my past made me sharper, not broken. Maybe I thought heading to the studio I was open to new possibilities again. Rain tapped my office window as I wrapped up the Emiliano case files. Another scammer. Another web of lies and theft. Another chance to fight for women reduced to their bank balances. My firm, Hollins Financial Investigations, had grown to 12 staff covering the East Coast. We focused on fraud analysis, asset recovery, victim support, skills born from Adrian's betrayal, now aiding other survivors. The job was tough, often gut-wrenching but rewarding. Closed case, each conviction, each reclaimed dollar chipped away at the doubt that once nearly crushed me. My life had shifted too. Michael and I had dated 2 years, building slowly on respect and common ground. He got my trust struggles, my independence, my work drive. I'd learned to spot a true supporter from an exploiter. We discussed living together, perhaps marriage. This time, love came with smarts and limits, not just hope. My phone pinged, an email. The subject chilled me. Adrian White parole hearing. I opened it, hands shaky. Adrian could seek early release after 4 years of 7. The hearing was next month. As a victim, I could testify on his crimes toll. I stared, flashbacks hitting. Chateau Marmont, the arrest, the trial where Adrian finally faced payback. 4 years on, his scars lingered in my relationships and trust, but they didn't own me. I called Detective Santos, now a friend. Ray, it's Cindy. Got the parole notice for Adrian. Figured, he said. Your plan. He served his time by the book. If the board thinks he's reformed, that's their call. No fight against parole? Wait it. Part of me wanted him caged forever, safe from more victims like me. But true healing meant not tying mine to his bars. I'll go to the hearing, I said. I'll share his impact, our victim work, the need to watch repeat offenders, but I won't let fear of him rule me. Mature move, Mel. Took 4 years, I admitted. But I'm ready to end this chapter. After hanging up, I sat, rain streaking the glass, reflecting on pain's cycles and recovery. On justice, forgiveness, the old me versus now. Adrian tried to make me just a paycheck, convinced me I was worthless. But fighting back, unashamed, unlocked hidden power in me. I learned I was bold enough for justice, clever enough for crooks, tough enough to rebuild alone. My kindness was strength, not flaw, my love worth guarding, not stealing. Above all, my value came from my deeds, choices, drive to aid others with my story. Rain eased, sunlight piercing clouds, gilding my desk. Cross town, women might be falling for smooth lies, handing hearts and cash to suited sharks. But now, help existed, networks, understanding voices. My phone rang, an unknown number. Hollins Financial Investigations, Cindy speaking. Miss Holland, a young, shaky voice said. I'm Amanda. I need help. I saw your documentary. I think my boyfriend's doing to me what Adrian did to you. My heart twisted with old ache and resolve. Another victim, her romance a ruse. Another fight to join. Amanda, I said, firm yet kind. You're in the right spot. What's going on? As she spoke, the familiar tricks, deceptions, love as a con, I recalled 4 years back amid Adrian's things, thinking my giving heart made me weak. I was wrong on love, trust, self-worth then. But right on one count, revenge chills best. My true payback wasn't Adrian's arrest, trial, or sentence, justice any victim earns. It was rejecting his poison, forging a path helping women resist, turning hurt to mission, weakness to power, sorrow to good. Adrian aimed to shatter me, make me mere funds. He forged his nightmare, a fiercer, sharper, deadlier woman. And she was just warming up. Amanda, I said, grabbing a notepad, pen ready. From the start. We'll stop him from hurting you or anyone. Sunlight flooded the city outside. A stunning evening, ideal for reckoning. Rain gone, but justice rolled on. Your testimony in the White case, your financial breakdown, the way you've spoken out on romance scams, it's changed how we handle these prosecutions, Michael said. We've had a 30% jump in victims reporting since your story hit. That's amazing to hear, I said, touched by how much it meant. I was hoping to ask about consulting on a case, he went on. It's like yours, a serial scammer hitting professional women in the tri-state area. We need your skills and perspective. I watched him talk, catching the real fire in his voice for victim justice. His eyes sparkled, describing my impact. His straightforwardness, focus, and respect for my ordeal felt fresh. I'd like to hear more, I said. Got a card? He passed one over, our fingers touching lightly. Briefing next Thursday, 2 o'clock. You free? I'll check, I said, tucking it in my purse. Great, Michael said, smiling wider. Miss Hollins, fighting back like you did, not staying quiet or ashamed, that took real guts. You've helped so many. After he left, I lingered by the pond, watching ducks skim the water, pondering chance meetings and new beginnings. Michael seemed solid, a man who shared my drive for justice and protecting the vulnerable. More than that, he valued my strength, not as a risk but a strength. He saw my smarts as an asset, not something to use, knowing my past made me sharper, not broken. Maybe as I walked to the studio, I was open to possibilities again. Rain tapped my office window as I wrapped up the Emiliano case files. Another scammer. Another web of lies and theft. Another chance to fight for women reduced to their bank balances. My firm, Hollins Financial Investigations, now had 12 staff and covered the East Coast. We focused on fraud analysis, asset recovery, and victim support, turning my Adrian nightmare into tools for other survivors. The job was tough, often gut-wrenching, but rewarding. Each closed case, each conviction, each recovered dollar chipped away at the doubt that once nearly swallowed me. My life had shifted too. Michael and I had dated 2 years, building slowly on respect and shared goals. He got my trust struggles, my independence, my work drive. I'd learned to spot a man who lifted me up, not one who preyed on weaknesses. We talked cohabitation, maybe marriage. This time, love came with smarts and limits, not just hope and giving. My phone pinged, an email. The subject chilled me. Adrian White parole hearing. I opened it, hands shaking. Adrian could get early release after 4 of his 7 years. The hearing was next month. As a victim, I could testify on his crime's impact. I stared, flashbacks hitting, of Chateau Marmont, the arrest, the trial where Adrian finally faced payback. 4 years on, his scars lingered in my relationships and trust, but they didn't own me anymore. I called Detective Santos, now a friend. Ray, it's Cindy. Got the parole notice for Adrian. Figured, he said. Your thoughts? He's served his time legally. If the board thinks he's reformed, that's their call. No fight against parole? I paused. Part of me wanted him caged forever to shield other women. But healing couldn't hinge on his bars. I'll go to the hearing, I said. I'll share the damage, our victim work, the need to watch repeat offenders. But fear of Adrian won't run my life. Mature move, Mel. Took 4 years, I admitted. But I'm ready to end this chapter. After hanging up, I sat, rain streaking the glass, mulling pain cycles and recovery. Justice, mercy, the old me versus now. Adrian tried to make me just a paycheck, convinced me I was desperate trash. But fighting back, refusing silence or shame, uncovered my hidden power. I learned I was bold enough for justice, clever enough for crooks, tough enough for my own life. My giving was a strength, not a flaw, my love a treasure, not a tool. Above all, my value came from my deeds, choices, and using pain to aid others. The rain eased, sunlight pierced clouds, gilding my desk. Cross town, women might be falling for smooth lies, handing hearts and cash to suited sharks. But now, help existed, resources, networks, understanding souls. My phone rang, an unknown number. Holland's Financial Investigations. Cindy speaking. Miss Holland, a young, shaky voice said. I'm Amanda. I need help. I saw your documentary. I think my boyfriend's pulling the same scam Adrian did on you. My heart tightened with old ache and resolve. Another victim, her romance a crime. Another shot to empower her fight. Amanda, I said, firm yet kind. You're in the right spot. What's going on? As she spoke, the familiar tricks, deceptions, abuse hidden as love, I recalled me 4 years back amid Adrian's junk, thinking my generosity made me weak. I'd been wrong on love, trust, self-value. But right on one, revenge served ice cold. My payback to Adrian wasn't arrest, trial, or jail. Those were due justice any victim earns. True revenge was rejecting his poison's hold, crafting a life and career aiding women's battles, transforming hurt to mission, weakness to power, sorrow to good. Adrian aimed to shatter me, shrink me to a wallet. Instead, he forged his nightmare, a woman tougher, sharper, deadlier than he dreamed. And she was just warming up. Amanda, I said, grabbing a notepad, pen ready. Let's go from the start. Don't worry, we'll stop him from hurting you or anyone else. Sunlight flooded the city outside. A stunning evening, ideal for justice. The rain stopped, but reckoning rolled on.